Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. You are welcome to attend the third lecture of biochemistry in the module of endo and reproduction. Let's see the objectives of this lecture. Today we will try to describe the general structure and location of anterior pituitary gland. Then we will make a list of hormones secreted by the anterior pituitary gland. The purpose of this lecture is also to mention the specific biochemical action of each of the hormones secreted by anterior pituitary gland. In this point, we will see how and what are the actions performed by the secretions of anterior pituitary gland. The next objective is to describe the structure, secretion, transport and biochemical actions of the growth hormone. Actually, growth hormone is the main hormone of anterior pituitary and it has widespread effect on almost all parts of the body. That's why we will describe and we will discuss its different aspects in comprehensive detail. Then the last 2 points are concerned with the abnormalities or the disorders concerned with the anterior pituitary. These are the acromegaly, gigantism and dwarfism. We will see their causes, features and some possible treatment. So these are the objectives. So at the end of the lecture, I am sure that you will be able to cover and you will be able to discuss this topic according to these objectives. Let's consider some introductory aspects regarding the structure, location and general aspects, general information of anterior pituitary gland. You know that anterior pituitary is actually the part of a pituitary gland and it is in close approximation, close association with the hypothalamus. Today our lecture is specific about the anterior pituitary. It is pituitary gland is regarded as master gland, although so many times I have told you that nowadays hypothalamus is considered as the master gland of the endocrine system. Actually, pituitary gland secrete various hormones, various secretions which regulate other endocrine glands and also control body growth, particularly through growth hormones. Regarding structure, anterior pituitary or the whole pituitary is a small cherry sized endocrine gland which weighs about its weight is about 600 milligram and it is located within the cella trochanter at the base of the brain, as it is connected to the hypothalamus through pituitary stalk. And there are two main parts of the pituitary, anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. So today's lecture is concerned with the different aspects of the anterior pituitary. Here we have some more detail about the structure and location of anterior pituitary. As I mentioned that it is present in the median depression in the medial cranial fossa of the sphenoid bone, and this pituitary gland lies just below the hypothalamus. Anterior pituitary is also known as adenohypophysis. It originates as direct outgrowth of roof of mouth and endoderm, which is an endoderm. Anterior pituitary is subdivided into three parts: pars distalis, pars intermedia and pars tuberalis. Regarding vascularity of the anterior pituitary or whole pituitary, it is highly vascular organ having highest blood flow of about 0.8 milliliter per gram per minute. So this high vascularity is particularly important, and this vascularity facilitating the functions of anterior pituitary so that the hormones secreted by anterior pituitary are released quickly into the blood circulation. Histologically, anterior pituitary gland is composed of chromophobes and chromophil type of the cells. Chromophobes have no granules and they are not involved in any secretions. However, it is claimed that some amount of ACTH is secreted by these chromophobes. But the actual secreting cells of the anterior pituitary are the chromophil cells, which are highly granular and actively involved in secreting the different hormones. Regarding cellular organization and cells of the anterior pituitary involved in making hormones, chromophil cells are important. They are further divided into two groups: acidophil or alpha cells and basophils or beta cells. The acidophil cells are further divided into two types. These are somatotropic cells, which are involved in secreting the growth hormone, and mammotropic cells, which secrete prolactin. On the other side, basophil cells are further divided into three types. These are the gonadotropic cells, which secrete follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, and second group of the basophil cells are the thyrotropic cells. They secrete TSH or the thyroid stimulating hormone, which does its effect on the thyroid gland to make or to synthesize thyroid hormone. And the third type of the basophil cells of the anterior pituitary glands are the corticotropic cells. They are involved in secreting ACTH, that is adrenocorticotropic hormone. As I already mentioned, that main and the chief hormone of the anterior pituitary is the growth hormone. But we have a long list of other hormones which are also synthesized by the anterior pituitary. So other hormones of the anterior pituitary gland other than growth hormones are the adrenocorticotropic hormone, prolactin, luteinizing hormone, beta lipoprotein, melanocyte stimulating hormone, which is synthesized by pars intermedia part of anterior pituitary, TSH or the thyroid stimulating hormone, FSH or follicle stimulating hormones, and beta endorphins. The beta lipoprotein and beta endorphins are synthesized in very minute amount. This is the diagram explaining or giving the information about the names of the hormones synthesized by anterior pituitary gland, and at the same time this diagram is showing the action of this particular hormone of anterior pituitary on a respective organ. For example, ACTH synthesized by anterior pituitary is responsible to do its action on adrenal cortex. As a result, hormones of adrenal cortex, particularly corticoids, adrenocorticoids hormones are released. Another hormone of the anterior pituitary is thyroid stimulating hormone, which is concerned with the working of thyroid gland, and the effect of TSH on thyroid results in secretion of thyroid hormone T3 and T4 from the thyroid gland. Similarly, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormones are doing their actions mainly on the testes and ovaries and bring about appropriate action. Growth hormone is the chief hormone of the anterior pituitary gland. It has widespread action in different tissues, different areas, different organs of the body, and it is involved particularly in promoting the growth, development, and enlargement of the different organs and the tissues of the body. Another hormone synthesized by the anterior pituitary is the prolactin. It has its action on the mammary gland and it is responsible for the process of lactation, that is ejection of milk in the lactating mothers. So this was just a brief description of the different hormones and their action on the different organs of the body, hormones of anterior pituitary. Now come on to see the detail of the major main hormone of the anterior pituitary, which is the growth hormone. As I already told you that growth hormone is the chief or the major or the main hormones of the anterior pituitary. If we consider its chemical nature, we will notice that it is a peptide hormone. It is composed of about 191 amino acids and molecular mass about 22,000. It is synthesized in anterior lobe of the pituitary, and the source or the respective cells of the anterior pituitary which are involved in synthesizing this hormone are the somatotrope cells of the anterior pituitary. Regarding importance of the growth hormone, it is essential for the normal development. It promotes growth, especially in the children. That's why if growth hormone synthesis or release is affected in growing phase of the childhood, the development and growth is arrested. At puberty, it stimulates cell growth and replication through release of somatomedins or insulin-like growth factors. So, in this at this age of life, the action of growth hormone is through insulin-like growth factors called IGF. The synthesis and release of growth hormone is under the control of hypothalamic hormones. If you recall the hormones of hypothalamus, one of the pair of hormones synthesized by the hypothalamus we discussed in the previous lecture was the growth hormone releasing hormone and growth hormone release inhibiting hormone. So both these stimulatory and the inhibiting factors or the chemicals from the hypothalamus are necessary for controlling and keeping the balance in the release of growth hormone from anterior pituitary. So we can say that the secretion or the release of growth hormone from anterior pituitary is under the control of growth hormone release hormone and the growth hormone release inhibiting hormone from the hypothalamus. It is noticed that normally, under normal circumstances, growth hormone is secreted episodically at 2 hours interval. It is not continuously released. It is released in the waves form in different stages. And peak secretion of growth hormone is seen 1 hour after the onset of deep sleep. So when someone is in deep sleep, the release of or the secretion of growth hormone is quite good. During the sixth decade, secretion diminishes considerably in both men and women, and it is noticed that the enlargement and the growth and development is somewhat slow down or almost stop at this age of an individual. So these were the some specific features related to the growth hormone of anterior pituitary gland. Now the next slides are concerned with the mode of action. First we will consider the direct action of the growth hormone. Growth hormone has direct actions on fat cells and liver and muscles which are not growth promoting. As a result of this direct action of the growth hormone on the fat cells in the liver and the muscles, the fatty acids are produced which are then changed into glucose, and finally blood glucose level rises and the condition of hyperglycemia occur. So we can say that the action of growth hormone is anti-insulin or diabetogenic. So we can say that growth hormone has hyperglycemic action because it causes the rise in blood glucose level, and the mechanism is its direct action on the fat cells in the liver and the muscles to produce fatty acids, which are then changed into fatty acids and glycerol, which are then converted to glucose by the process of gluconeogenesis, and the final effect is rise in plasma glucose level. So remember that the growth hormone by action is anti-insulinic or diabetogenic. It creates diabetic-like situations. Its action is against or opposite of insulin in respect to the blood glucose level particularly. Now here we can consider the indirect action of growth hormones. The effect of growth hormone on the liver is to produce number of somatomedins or growth factors, now usually called insulin-like growth factors. It is this information we have just saw in the previous slides, the slides which are showing the regulation of the growth hormone secretions. In that slides we also notice the presence of insulin-like growth factors. So these are released from the liver under the influence of growth hormone. So we can say that the action of growth hormone are mediated mainly through insulin-like growth factor 1, and the effect of which are to stimulate growth in the bones, protein synthesis in the muscles, and lipolysis in the fat. So these are the three major effects of these somatomedins or the growth factors or the insulin-like growth factors. The three main factors, the three main actions of IGF-1 are to stimulation of the growth, particularly in the bones, protein formation in the muscles. As a result, the muscle size, muscle bulk, or muscle enlargement takes place. But fats are hydrolyzed, lipolysis of the fat occurs, and obviously the lipolysis of the fat resulted in the formation of fatty acid and glycerols, which are then converted to glucose via the process of gluconeogenesis that results in the formation of results in increase in blood glucose level, that is the hyperglycemia. Now in the next few slides we will discuss the metabolic actions, particularly on the carbohydrate, protein, and lipid metabolism. At the end we will also consider the biochemical action of growth hormone on the mineral metabolisms, and we will also see the detail of action of growth hormones on other tissues of the body. One by one, first consider the biochemical action of growth hormone on carbohydrate metabolism. So in one word, in single sentence, the effect of main action of growth hormone on carbohydrate metabolism is hyperglycemia. So the effect of growth hormone on increasing serum glucose level is twofold. There are two ways, two processes by which glucose level in the blood is increased under the influence of growth hormone. One is glucose uptake by the muscles and adipocyte is decreased. On the other hand, glucose synthesis, gluconeogenesis by the liver is stimulated. And along with hyperglycemia, glucosuria, that is loss of glucose in the urine, takes place, and a diabetic like tolerance curves are also produced. It also potentiates the hyperglycemic effects of glucagon and epinephrine. Remember that glucagon and epinephrine are also diabetogenic. They also create the condition of hyperglycemia, both glucagon and epinephrine. So if glucagon and epinephrine are also there, So the combined effects or the hyperglycemic situation achieve in a better way, or more rise in blood glucose is seen if growth hormone, epinephrine and glucagon are present in the body. So this was the effect of growth hormone on carbohydrate metabolism. Hyperglycemia, glucosuria and diabetic-like situations are the main action of growth hormone on carbohydrate metabolism. Now come on to see the next biochemical effect of growth hormone on protein metabolism. We can say that growth hormone is a protein anabolic hormone and it produces a positive nitrogen balance. Positive nitrogen balance means the nitrogen entering into the body is more than the nitrogen coming out from the body. That's why nitrogen retention is noticed in during the action of growth hormone. There is also a fall in blood urea nitrogen and amino acid levels, and the synthesis of collagen is particularly increased. As we notice in the slide showing the regulation of the growth hormone release, where the insulin like growth factors were acting on the muscles and the bones and causing their enlargement, development and increase in their size. So all these effects are actually by the uh, synthesis of collagen. Another action of growth hormone is the stimulation of antibody formation. Immunoglobulins formation is somewhat good. It is also increased as a result body's ability to resist against infection is increased. As a result, the general health of an individual is somewhat on the better side, because that individual can fight infection easily and maintain general health at a good level. So this was the biochemical action of growth hormone on protein metabolism. So in this aspect we can say that it is having anabolic action, and this action is somewhat similar to the insulin, but on the point of from the point of view of the carbohydrate, the action of growth hormone and insulin are opposite. Next point, next function of the growth hormone regarding its metabolic effect is on lipid metabolism. As you know that it has lipolytic action, so that growth hormone decreases the body fat by increasing lipolysis in the adipose tissues, leading to decreased fat storage. So fat depots are decreased by the action of growth hormones. This results in decreased fat storage, fat depots and increase in the lean body mass. It increases the metabolic rate and decreases the plasma cholesterol level. So another good effect of the growth hormone is that it decreases plasma cholesterol level somewhat, because cholesterol is also the type of fat. As a result, there is increased tendency of ketone bodies formation because of the increased plasma free fatty acid level. The explanation of this point, that why ketone bodies formation is increased, is due to the fact of excessive formation of fatty acid. These fatty acids along with the glycerol, both of them are converted into the glucose. Still the remaining fatty acids may undergo oxidation and give large amount of acetyl CoA. This acetyl CoA when produced in excess can change into the ketone bodies like acetoacetate, beta hydroxybutyrate and acetone. These three substances are known as ketone bodies. And the formation of ketone bodies, why increase under the influence of the growth hormone? Because the basic reason is increase rate of lipolysis and because of excessive formation of acetyl CoA from fatty acids. So this thing can be asked in certain clinical scenarios which are asking something about the abnormalities in the lipid metabolism or condition associated with increased lipolysis. So you have to remember this fact that ketone bodies formation is actually due to excessive formation of acetyl CoA from fatty acids. So something may be asked in short essay questions or scenario based MCQs. So you have to interpret this knowledge and try to answer correctly. I hope you will do easily. Another action of growth hormones on mineral metabolism is that it causes retention of the calcium, sodium, potassium and phosphate in the body. In other words, you can say that growth hormone promote mineralization of the bones and the teeth, causes their hardening, good development, increase in size, increase in density. So all these leads to the healthier formation of these mineral tissues of the body, especially the bones and the teeth, because of the retention of these minerals. Now let's see the effects of growth hormone on the tissues, particularly the connective tissues. In most tissues, we have already noticed that the effect of growth hormone is not direct. As we saw in the previous slides, that growth hormones stimulate the production of another factor that mediates the physiological effect of growth hormone. And these other mediators or the other factors are the insulin-like growth factors or the somatomedins. These factors, which are produced by the liver in response to growth hormone, can act on multiple tissues to stimulate, regulate and enhance their growth and functions. So this is actually the indirect action of growth hormone on different tissues of the body. Growth hormone is also responsible to control the somatic growth of the body, as it stimulates linear bone growth primarily by increasing the amino acid uptake and protein synthesis in chondrocytes, that is in the bone cells. So as a result, the height, length of an individual is increases. Growth hormone also causes an increase in the organ size, and obviously when organ is healthy, full developed, the working capacity or the function of that organ is also at ideal level or at good level. So in this way, the growth, development, enlargement and working of different tissues of the body is promoted by the action of growth hormones. So far we have discussed in detail the detail of growth hormone, which is the major hormone of the anterior pituitary. We saw its structure, its mechanism of release, mode of action, and its different way of actions like direct actions and indirect actions and specific actions on carbohydrate metabolism, protein metabolism, mineral metabolism, and on other tissues. Now come on to discuss briefly the functions of remaining other hormones synthesized or made by anterior pituitary. So first one is the thyroid stimulating hormone. TSH is one of the secretion of the anterior pituitary. It actually triggers the release of thyroid hormones. And this TSH, which is released or synthesized by anterior pituitary, is actually under the control of thyrotropin releasing hormone. If you recall, and if you consider the hypothalamic hormones, then you will notice that we discussed one of the hypothalamic hormone by the name of TRH, or the thyrotropin releasing hormone. It promotes the release of TSH, and the TSH is the hormone of anterior pituitary, and its release is under the control of TRH, which is coming from hypothalamus. Then TSH controls the secretion of thyroxine. Thyroxine are the hormones of thyroid gland, which are mainly two in number, T3 and T4. So TSH is essential for the activity of the thyroid gland. Actually, when TSH is released, it causes the increase in the size and the number of the thyroid cells, and it also enhances the trapping of iodine, because iodine or the iodide is required for the synthesis of thyroxine or the thyroid hormone by the thyroid gland. Next hormones of the anterior pituitary is adrenocorticotropic hormone, or the ACTH. ACTH controls the secretion of the hormone released by the adrenal cortex. So we can say that ACTH controls the growth of the adrenal cortex, and it stimulates to secrete glucocorticoids. ACTH itself is under the control of CRH. What is CRH? CRH is the corticotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus. So again, ACTH is under the control of hypothalamus through CRH. Regarding activity of the ACTH, its half-life is very short, about 10 minutes only, and at rest the rate of secretion of ACTH is quite slow. But when CRH is released in a good amount, then the release of ACTH is somewhat increased. So we can say that the secretion of ACTH is controlled by the plasma cortisol level. What is cortisol? Cortisol is the hormone of adrenal cortex. This cortisol is released from the adrenal cortex under the influence of ACTH. If cortisol is present in the blood in a good amount, then the signal goes to the anterior pituitary in such a way that there is a good amount of cortisol is already present, so ACTH release is somewhat decreased. Its detail we will see again in when you will do the hormones of adrenal cortex. So at this point, at this moment, just remember that ACTH is one of the hormone of anterior pituitary. Its release from the anterior pituitary is under the control of CRH, which is the hypothalamic hormone, and ACTH act on adrenal cortex and causes the release of various hormones of the adrenal cortex. Another secretion of the anterior pituitary is follicle stimulating hormone, FSH. Regarding functions of the follicle stimulating hormone, it initiates the growth of ovarian follicle each month in ovary, and also stimulates one of the follicles is developed fully up to the stage of maturity and able to undergo ovulation, that it can produce ovum. FSH also stimulate estrogen secretion by developing follicles, and also stimulate sperm production in the male. So it also has some action in the male regarding the sperm production. Also, FSH is noticed to stimulate testicular growth and enhances the production of androgen binding protein by the Sertoli cells, which are the component of testicular tubule necessary for sustaining the maturity of the sperm. So these are the functions of FSH. After releasing from the anterior pituitary, it performs to regulate various reproductive functions in male and female. Another hormone of the anterior pituitary is the luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone in male stimulates the secretion of testosterone and its production by the testes, while in female it stimulates the release of ovum by ovary. Next hormones of the anterior pituitary is melanocyte stimulating hormone. Again, remember that all these hormones from the anterior pituitary are under the control of hypothalamus, release or inhibiting factor. So MSH along with the ACTH affect the pigment release, black pigment, that is melanin, and causes its deposition in the hair, skins and some other areas of the body. Prolactin, hormone of the anterior pituitary, stimulates milk production. It is concerned with the ejection of milk in lactating women. So this was the detail of the main hormone, that is the growth hormone, as well as the other hormones of anterior pituitary. Now we are going to see the pituitary disorders. Disorders of anterior pituitary means the conditions concerned with the excessive secretion or depressed or the deficiency of the respective hormone of the anterior pituitary. There are two disorders associated with the growth hormones. One is that in which growth hormone is released or secreted excessively, and there is a condition in which it is deficient or not present in appropriate amount. So first condition is acromegaly. Let's see what is acromegaly. So it is actually the excessive production of growth hormone in adult. If growth hormone is excessively produced in adult, this results in the enlargement of the skeletal extremities, and the condition is called acromegaly. In this situation, growth hormone can also stimulate the growth of connective tissues in a exaggerated manner, more than the limit, and the combination of connective tissue growth and hypertrophied bones compresses the local nerves, causing pain, burning sensation in the joint, stiffness in the limbs and numbness. So the growing organs, growing connective tissues create problem by pressing the nearby nerves and the blood vessels. Another features, because we know that growth hormone is hyperglycemic, so when it is produced excessively in the situation of acromegaly, it causes hyperglycemia and it may result in the diabetes mellitus, which is called pituitary diabetes. It is noticed that in about 25% cases of acromegaly results in development of the tissue resistance to the insulin, and ultimately this results in the condition of diabetes, which I just told you that it is pituitary diabetes. What happened when someone is suffering from the acromegaly? So these are the features which are noticed in the patients of acromegaly. Here the bones and soft tissues of the hand, feet, face increases in size. Lower jaw also increases in size, which is called prognathus. Tongue is also increased in size. Patients show a variety of skeletal deformities like kyphosis, so the hunchback, lordosis, and compressed vertebrae. Because of this irregularity in the growth, deformities in the shape of the bones and the vertebrae. Notice hairs are coarse, oily, and thickened with the thickened skins, and the condition is called hypertrichosis. Quite many hairs are there. Excessive perspiration and bad body odor is also noticed. There are small outgrowths of skin tissues as skin tags. It is the result of uncontrolled and overgrowth of the skin tissues. There is easy fatigue and muscle weakness noticed in the patients of acromegaly. Some cardiovascular disorders like cardiomyopathy, high blood pressure, and congestive cardiac failure are also noticed in acromegaly. There is generalized enlargement of the viscera which is called splenomegaly. Almost spleen, liver, gallbladder, and kidney. These organs are increased in size. So collectively the condition is called splenomegaly. Visual disturbances such as bitemporal hemianopia or hemianopsia occur due to compression of the optic chiasma by enlarged pituitary gland. So remember that the visual defects, particularly the defect in field vision or the reduction in field vision, particularly on the lateral sides, is due to compression of optic nerve, because optic nerve is passing through the vicinity where the anterior pituitary gland is there. So some clinical scenario based questions may be asked from this point of view, that is the effect of enlargement of pituitary on vision of an individual. This is the picture showing the physical appearance of the patient of acromegaly. So you can notice that there is enlargement of almost all tissues and the organs of the parts of the body, big hands, feet, and fingers, muscles, excessive hairs, and the height of a individual is more than the normal. Another disorder of the anterior pituitary is gigantism. Gigantism is a condition which occurs due to adenoma, which is a pituitary tumor. It occurs in patients who had excessive growth hormone in the childhood. So gigantism is the excessive secretion of the ADH hormone in childhood age. The pituitary tumor cells secrete too much growth hormones, leading to many changes in the body. These changes are gradual but continuous and consistent. As a result, the affected individual of gigantism may achieve the height of about 10 feet. At the same time, muscles may be well developed, but later on they undergo some atrophy and weakening. So these are the features of gigantism. Now some problem associated with the deficiency of growth hormones, which is the panhypopituitarism. It is a condition of inadequate or absent production of anterior pituitary hormone, particularly the growth hormone. Two important types are the prepubertal or the Laurent-Levy type. In this case, there is childhood dwarfism characterized by reduced bone length, subnormal sexual development, pale skin, and more body fat, while the other one is postpubertal panhypopituitarism or the cement disease. It is characterized by progressive emaciation and atrophy of the gonads. Amenorrhea in female and impotence in male is noticed. Thyroid, adrenal cortex, and loss of body hairs are also noticed. There is atrophy or the destruction of the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland, so that growth hormone is deficient in these patients. Here is some information about the pituitary dwarfism. Panhypopituitarism means not only growth hormone, the other hormones are also deficient. So this picture is showing the appearance of the body when suffering from the deficiency of the growth hormones. So these peoples are called little peoples or dwarf. Specifically, pituitary dwarfism is the word which is not from growth hormone deficiency, but it is noticed in African pygmy and Levi-Lorin dwarfism. It is a specific one which is found in African countries. In this type, the rate of growth hormone secretion is normal or high, but there is hereditary inability to form somatomedin C, which are the growth factors. Growth factors are not produced appropriately. As a result, growth is arrested. So this is called pituitary dwarfism. Growth hormone is here, but the ability to produce somatomedin is not there. So this was the cause of pituitary dwarfism. So very quickly consider the quick recap of hormones of anterior pituitary and some detail of review of detail of anterior pituitary. We know that pituitary gland lies inferior to the hypothalamus and it is connected to the hypothalamus by pituitary stalk. There are two types of the cells present in the anterior pituitary, chromophores and chromophil cells. Chromophil cells are specifically concerned with the secretion of hormones. Main hormone of the anterior pituitary is the growth hormone. Other hormones are TSH, ACTH, FSH, MSH, prolactin and luteinizing hormone as well. Main action of the growth hormones are on the deposition of the minerals and proteins in connective tissues. As a result, it causes enlargement of the tissues, particularly the bones and the muscles, but at the same time it causes lipolysis and results in the hyperglycemia. So regarding carbohydrate metabolism effect, the growth hormone is responsible for creating hyperglycemia. Actually, the effect of growth hormone on liver is to produce number of somatomedins, and these growth factors are responsible for enlargement and development of the different organs of the body. Regarding disorders, main disorders of the anterior pituitary are the acromegaly due to excessive production of the growth hormone in adults, gigantism, excessive production of growth hormone in childhood, and pituitary dwarfism. It results from the generalized deficiency of anterior pituitary secretions. That's why it is called panhypopituitarism during childhood. As a result, the growth and the development of a child is arrested or stopped. So this was the summary, and in the end we have the resources and the name of the books having more detail about these topics. You can use these references for deep study. Okay, so this was the end of this lecture. Goodbye. See you in next lecture. Assalamu alaikum.